Good morning everybody, welcome to the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation, or EAARO. We're currently observing the Meteor... Sorry about that. We're currently observing the Beta Taurids meteor shower this morning. We've been here since 4 AM. We've had one or two issues with the stream, but we're here live now. We've just passed the peak of the meteor shower, which was at 7 AM this morning. We've had a really abundant stream coming in. And thank you to everybody who's joined us. You can see to my radio screen at the right our pings coming in on the waterfall screen on the right hand side. You'll see some little white dots that show up, and these are Meteor Echoes. We use a transmitter in the south of France called Graves, and the echoes are produced when a signal from the transmitter hits the ionized trail of a meteor as it's passing through the atmosphere, and then we receive the echo back on the waterfall screen. You can see one or two that have blipped down now. Sometimes they're very small. Most of the meteors we receive are about the size of a grain of sand. But they're travelling through the atmosphere at really high speed, so they produce a lot of energy and they heat the air behind them and produce these trails, which are opaque or reflect radio signals. So we receive the echoes off of the trails as our transmitter hits the trails, and the signals are beamed back to us here at EAARO. Most of these meteors are probably received over the area of the Pyrenees Mountains, which is about 100 kilometers south of the transmitter that we're currently using. We've had a really abundant rate of meteors coming through the atmosphere this morning. Most of them I think are from the Beta Taurids, but some are probably from the June Bootids, because that particular radiant is currently over the horizon this morning as well, so we're probably getting one or two meteors in from that particular shower. So we've got the June Bootids and the Beta Taurids, and then various other random meteors that are probably appearing from something called the apex source. So meteors can pass through the atmosphere at any time. There doesn't have to be a shower on, it's just that during the showers we tend to see more meteors. But about 30 to 40,000 tons of debris will fall on the Earth every year. And most of that probably will fall into the sea, seeing as that the sea covers a very large percentage of the surface of the Earth. So that's why when you're walking down the street or driving in your car, you're not being hit by meteorites. I say most of the meteorites that we observe will burn up in the atmosphere before they even reach the surface of the Earth and become a meteorite. But if you are lucky enough to find one, because of the rarity of them, they can be quite valuable. So thank you ever so much for joining us this morning. I'll come back to you again in another 15 minutes with an update on where we are with things. But I'll leave you watching the radio screen for now. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for logging in and viewing our stream on YouTube. This is Jason Williams here from EAARO, the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation. We're currently observing the Beta Taurids meteor shower this morning, but as a extra special add-on to that, we're now also receiving meteors, I think, from the June Boötids. The radiant for that is currently over the horizon, so I think we're getting a mixture of two different meteor showers this morning, plus some random meteors which I think are probably coming in from what's called the apex source, which are basically random meteors that aren't particularly coming from a shower, but are part of the 30 to 40,000 tons of debris that falls on the Earth every year. We're using, the radio you can currently see is receiving signals from a transmitter in Graves in the south of France. So the meteor reflections that we're hearing are probably somewhere south of Graves, possibly over the Pyrenees Mountains in France. You can see the stream's quite abundant this morning. If you look at the radio screen to the right, there are two windows. The big window is our frequency window, that's showing the signals that we're receiving, and the smaller window to the right of that with the blue waterfall scrolling down is showing some meteors, and you can just see some of those echoes disappearing off the bottom of the screen. We're also using another radar system for forward scatter, which utilises a receiver in Belgium. It's known as Brahms. The transmitter in Belgium is located in a place called Dorbs, and we're also receiving some very strong echoes from there this morning. Unfortunately, I can't show you the screen for that because we're currently hooked up to capturing the radio screen from Graves. But as you can see, the stream has been quite abundant this morning. We're over the peak now. The peak was around 7 AM. We had a nice long lead up to that. Unfortunately, some of the earlier observations weren't live due to a technical error. But we're here now and we're broadcasting live from our Space Operations Centre based in Alconbury near Cambridge. If you look above me, you can see a bird's eye view. We've got a webcam right up in the top corner that shows our bunker here at Alconbury. You can see our desks, various different experiments on each desk. The front desk is all to do with meteor radar. We have a satellite tracking station to the right of that. The middle desk is our Jupiter observations desk and also our meteor camera stations. And the desk right at the back is our kind of operational desk, but it also hosts our Southern Ionospheric Disturbance experiment. That's an experiment where we're looking at the state of the ionosphere and how the ionosphere is changed by solar events from the sun, generally things like coronal mass ejections and solar flares. One of our youngest members, Erin, who's 12, she's part of our junior team and she logs in every day and monitors that experiment and makes sure that it's all running okay. And actually on the 29th of May we received a couple of M-class solar flares, or we observed the effects of those using that experiment, and we were really pleased, as I think they were the first M-class solar flares that we've seen since 2007. So all very exciting stuff. As you can see, the meteor stream from these various showers this morning has been quite abundant, and I think we've been receiving at least one a minute, so we're probably at a zenith hourly rate of about 60, which far exceeds what was predicted this morning. So really pleased with how the systems here are working, with our antennas and our receivers. I'm going to leave you with the radio screen for a little bit longer while I go and get myself a drink, and then I'll be back with you shortly. Thanks ever so much to everybody who's joined this morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation's Space Operations Centre, based here in Alconbury near Cambridge. I'm Jason Williams. I'm your host for the Beta Taurids meteor shower observation this morning. We're actually observing meteors from two streams because the Boötids is currently over the horizon, so that's the radiant for another meteor shower called the June Boötids. As you can see by looking at the radio screen on the right and all those little white dots, little white marks, all of those are echoes from meteors that are passing through the atmosphere right now. We're using a transmitter in France for this particular observation this morning. So most of the meteors you'll see are probably passing through the sky, through the atmosphere, somewhere above the Pyrenees Mountains, which is about 100 kilometres south of the transmitter that we're using. So we use a forward scatter technique whereby we're listening to reflections from our transmitter off of the ionised trails of meteors as they pass through the atmosphere. So when a meteor passes through the atmosphere, it's travelling super fast and it heats the air behind it. It kind of superheats the air and you get these trails. So when you see a shooting star, you'll see a trail behind it. Well, that superheated air acts like a mirror to radio waves and reflects radio waves back from a transmitter. So the signals we receive are those echoes. It's basically kind of radar echoes that are coming back to us. And as you can see, the stream's been quite abundant this morning. I think it's a combination of the fact that we're receiving meteors from two different showers, the June Bootids and the Beta Taurids, and also some random meteors that are coming in from the apex source, which basically means meteors which can arrive at any time and aren't necessarily coming from a shower. Yeah, we've been quite pleased with our results this morning. All the systems are working well. The antennas are working well. We had a little bit of a technical error this morning during the earlier part this morning, and some of our images weren't going live. But anyway, we're here live now. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. We're going to carry on through the morning. I might stay here for an extra hour, seeing as we had some issues this morning, just to get some more video on our YouTube channel. We have recorded all the data this morning, and I'll be posting one or two screenshots of some of the nice meteors that we have received. We see what we think might be a couple of fireballs this morning as well, so that's all quite interesting. We are actually using another transmitter in Belgium, but unfortunately I can't show you the screen capture of that screen, but we've also received some pretty strong signals using that transmitter as well. So once again, thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning. Thanks for joining EAARO and taking part in our observation. There will be more videos and more live streams, etc. coming over the next couple of months. We've decided that this will be a good thing. Due to the COVID-19 restrictions, we can't really have anybody here right now. So I'm here on my own making the observation, but thoroughly enjoying it and super wide awake considering I got up about 3 a.m. this morning. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. And I'll come back to you shortly after a quick, I'm going to go and have a quick coffee break. I'll leave you with the radio screen and I'll be back soon. Good morning. Hello to everybody who's joined us this morning. You can see some great meteors just about to disappear off the bottom of the screen on the right hand side on the radio screen. We've had a really abundant stream of meteors, mainly from the Beta Taurids meteor shower, but also from a meteor shower called the June Booties, which is also currently occurring, and the radiant from that looks to me like it's visible over the horizon at the moment. So we're probably receiving meteors from both those showers. You can see some really nice ones. The peak was due around 7 a.m., but I think we're still peaking. We've got some nice big meteors popping up on the display. One just about to disappear off the screen now. Some really nice strong echoes. If anyone has equipment and are interested in setting their own meteor station up, then I'm quite happy to provide some free advice. Please just email me on the info address. So that's info@earo.org.uk. I'm going to just put that into the questions and answer box now. So it's info@earo.org.uk. There you go. So if anyone has any questions or wants any help in setting up their own system, very happy to do that. Thank you for everybody who's joined us this morning. I did put a post out earlier on our social media channels just to see if we can get a few more viewers, because I think people would find this interesting. And this is one part of Radio Astronomy which is very exciting, because we're actually listening to signals live. So we're not collecting a lot of data and then kind of stacking up data and trying to show it in different visualizations after the event. You're actually watching live events as they happen. These ones over probably the Pyrenees Mountains in France, seeing as the transmitter we're using is in a place called Graves. Generally, most of the meteors are probably going to be about 100 kilometers south, because that's the way the transmitter points. So thank you everybody who's joined us this morning. Very sorry about earlier this morning. We had a technical problem and weren't actually, although we were broadcasting, we were only in preview mode and we weren't actually broadcasting live. Sorry about that. User error, nothing to do with the equipment. Anyway, again, thanks to everybody who's joined us this morning. I'll be back with you again shortly. Please keep an eye on the radio screen and watch those pings coming in. Just coming up to 8 o'clock. I think we'll stay here for at least another hour and a half before we finally sign out and I go home and get some sleep. Again, sorry for missing the peak earlier at 7 o'clock. Although I have to say it wasn't very spectacular and was pretty much the same as what we've had all morning, where we've had pretty much a steady stream of meteors. The peak wasn't anything more than that. So again, sorry about missing that this morning, but at least we're here live now, and you can see us obtaining some really interesting results. Okay. By the way, these lines that you can see on the radio screen, especially the line, the very kind of thick kind of pulse line in the middle, these are man-made signals coming from either VHF beacons or other VHF transmitters, and have nothing to do with the meteor echoes that we're receiving. Any echoes we receive, you'll see underneath, if I can move the arrow, you'll see occur down here underneath this grey bar. So this is all man-made signals, man-made, I would say, interference. We're only really concerned with what we're receiving in this area here. See, there's a meteor there, one there. Much easier to see the echoes on this side of the screen. If you see where I'm circling my mouse pointer, there are two meteors just detected there, just about to fall off the bottom of the screen. Another one just there. Lots of meteors coming in this morning. Very pleased. There's a nice big one there. Thank you everybody who's joined us. And I'll come back to you in a little while, leaving you with the radio screen. Hello again everyone. I just had a thought. I haven't actually calculated what we call the zenith hourly rate yet this morning. So the zenith hourly rate is basically how many meteors we count within an hour. So if anyone fancies tallying that up for me in the next 60 minutes, I'm going to give away a special prize. What you could do is you could calculate it over half an hour, and then we could double it. That would probably work for the purposes of today's observation. And then we'll post that information online with some really nice screenshots of some of the meteor echoes that we've received this morning. For those of you who have just joined, my name is Jason Williams. I'm joining you live from our Space Operations Centre, which is based over in Alconbury, near Cambridgeshire, on the former RAF Alconbury airfield. We're actually based inside a bunker. You can see from the our kind of bird's eye view camera just above me, the concrete slab roof. There was a false ceiling in here, which isn't here anymore. But the decor is the original US Air Force decor. And if you look just, if you're looking at the bird's eye camera, if you look just in front of me on the wall, there's like a wood panelled wall, and you can actually see one of the M16 machine gun slots, the little brown indent in the wall. So this bunker was actually used by the security forces as the main point of security for the nuclear weapons storage area during the Cold War. So we're actually based on the nuclear weapons storage area compound. There's no nuclear weapons here anymore. They were all removed in the 80s. But kindly, Urban and Civic, who own the site, have donated us a tenancy to be here in this bunker for the next few years, which is fantastic for us. We also have two other sites. We have two observatory sites. One is on the furthest northern island of the Orkney Islands, a little island called North Ronaldsay. And our other observatory is in Royston, in the shadow of the Mullards Radio Observatory, which is Cambridge University's radio telescope site. Data from both of those centres can be beamed here directly to our Space Operations Centre in Alconbury, and we can make all our observations here. As well as the meteor observations that we do, we also have a sudden ionospheric disturbance experiment, which is run by one of our youngest members, Erin, who's 12. She logs into that experiment every day and checks the data. It runs on a 24-hour period, and basically it's all to do with us observing solar behaviour and events happening on the sun, like solar flares, coronal mass ejection, sunspots. By monitoring the state of the ionosphere, it's directly related to activity on the sun. And back in at the end of May, we received a couple of M-class solar flares, which were the first two, I think, observed since 2017. So when we went and correlated our results with NASA's GOES space weather site, we were in fact successful in receiving the related behaviour of both of those flares. So we were really excited about that. We've just installed a satellite ground station here, and with that we're able to track most of the commercial satellites, including the ISS, for which we'll be doing some demonstrations probably later next month, and hopefully scheduling some time to talk to the astronauts on board. So we have radios here, and we're licensed to be able to speak to people on board the ISS, so that could make for quite an exciting live stream. So watch out on our YouTube YouTube channel and social media channel for something about the ISS over the next couple of months. Anyway, going to leave you with the radio screen for a little bit longer, and thank you again to everybody who's joining us this morning. We're going to be here for at least another hour, and again, apologies for missing some of the very early morning stuff. That was due to operator error. I hold my hand up. Okay, speak to you all soon. Hello again to all our viewers. Thanks for continuing to watch our channel. Very interested to look at SDR musings and what they're doing. It's really cool that there are a number of people out there that are streaming their SDR receivers and showing us all what they're receiving. It's fantastic. We like to think that we're doing it the best way at EAARO. So yeah, just a bit more technical information. So we're using two different transmitters. The Graves transmitter, which is a VHF transmitter and transmits at a wavelength of around 2 meters. So they're pretty big waves. And then the Belgian transmitter, you can probably hear the strong echoes coming from behind me. That transmits on 6 meters, 50 megahertz. So two very different frequencies, looking over two very different areas and receiving two very different streams. I think we'll try and endeavour to see what we can to show you the stream from Belgium as well on our next observation. I think I just need some sort of a HDMI switcher or something in place so I can switch between the two radio screens. But we'll work on that and try and make that happen next time. I don't know when our next meteor shower will be, but I think we'll aim to do a demonstration of our SID project next week. It's not quite as exciting. It's a much slower process in how we observe the results. But would be good for any of you that are interested in setting up your own sudden ionospheric disturbance system at home. It can be done quite simply, and again, quite happy to show you how to do that. Anyway, enjoy the radio screen, and I'll be back with you shortly. Hello again, Jason Williams here from EAARO. It's a shame you can't see our radio capture screen on our Belgium receiver. It's just on the desk right at the back. Let me get up and I can show you where it is. Hold on. We're receiving some extremely strong signals from Belgium at the moment. I don't know if you can actually hear. Can you hear those pings coming in from behind me? I think if I just turn the level up a little bit, you might be able to hear some of the echoes. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to hear some of the echoes now from Belgium when they come in. They've got a much lower tone to them. The echoes from Grays are quite high frequency, and the echoes from Dorbs in Belgium are kind of a medium tone. But hopefully you'll get to hear a couple of in a minute, and you can hear what I mean. By the way, we're also looking at another way of observing meteors using very low frequency. We've been talking to a chap who's doing some research in that area and who might be interested in installing one of his experiments here. So we're actually listening to the audible effects of a meteor as it passes through the atmosphere rather than actually reflecting a signal off of the trail. So it's a completely new way of observing meteors, and it's something that we'd very much like to try here. We also have cameras, and we do visual meteor observations. Obviously not very good during the daytime, but on a clear night we use some very low lux cameras, for which we have two which sit on the roof here looking north and south. We're just about to add some more cameras, one over on the Orkney Islands at our station there, one over in Royston, and one somewhere else. It should be quite exciting because once we can do visual meteor observations of using three cameras, we can triangulate and try and work out a rough area in the UK where that particular meteor has arrived. Very interesting, and also it means that we can actually do some observations over the UK rather than looking at meteors above France and Belgium. So keep your eye on that one. We've just got a little bit more work to do on the cameras and the setup, and perhaps we'll do some live streams where we show what we're doing with the visual side of things as well. There's an awful lot of new experiments that are currently being added to our collection, so to speak, and we also have a 12-inch Cassegrain telescope that we're currently working on to make that robotic and to fit that in a dome here, so we can actually do some proper visual astronomy rather than just the radio astronomy that we've always done in the past. So that's quite a new thing for EAARO, to add the visual aspect to it, but something that we're quite excited about. So look out for that in the future. Good morning to anybody who's just joined us. Give me 1 second. Welcome to EAARO Space Operations Centre, based over in Alconbury in Cambridgeshire. I'm Jason Williams. I've been your host for the Beta Taurids Meteor Shower this morning. I hesitate there because we've got another radar system behind us using the Belgium transmitter. We're receiving really strong streams from both Belgium and Graves in France, which is the receiver that you can see on the computer screen in front of you. We've really had a fantastic stream of meteors all morning since I arrived here at 4 AM. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the live button, so we were broadcasting but only in preview mode up until just after the peak this morning, and until I realised what I'd done. But we have been live now for the past nearly 2 hours, and we shared some really interesting data, some really nice meteor echoes that we've received over the atmosphere in the south of France this morning. We've had some really great viewers as well. So really pleased that people have joined the observation and interacted a little bit, asked a few questions. After all, that's what EAARO is all about. We only have one objective, and that is to educate and inspire people in science and technology, using our some really exciting and meaningful space research projects that we're currently involved with. Meteor observations is something that we did right from the start at EAARO. And we continue to do them. It's quite a popular observation. There's many people doing it. I think the meaningful part of for us is the fact that we're using all of this experience that we're gaining on how to detect meteors to contribute towards building our own transmitter site, which will eventually be installed up on the furthest northern island of the Orkneys in Scotland, called North Ronaldsay. We're currently building the prototype antenna here. It will get tested somewhere near Cambridge at our Royston station, and we'll try and do some. We'll set up a receive station here, and once we know everything is working okay and we have the correct permissions from Ofcom to operate our transmitter, then we'll be moving it all up to North Ronaldsay and getting it set up there. So that will add to the number of people that will be able to make their own observations, because obviously we'll be opening up our UK transmitter to anybody who's interested in using it. So very exciting, really exciting prospect for people in the UK that want to do meteor observations as well. So all exciting times here at EAARO. We've got about another 10 minutes left. I can't work out how to extend the time of the event on YouTube. If anyone knows how to do that, please give me a shout. Otherwise, the stream's going to end here in about 10 minutes' time. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. I'll come back shortly before 9 o'clock and say goodbye to you all. But if someone knows how to extend the stream, then we may just extend it another half an hour or so, seeing as we've got a good stream of meteors pinging in right now. Okay, thank you. Hello. Okay. I'm just going to point out what we're watching here on the radio screen. If you watch my cursor, this area here is our radio receiver where we're receiving signals from the Groves transmitter, but the signals we're receiving are reflected signals off of meteors as they enter the atmosphere over the south of France. We're listening in this area here, below this grey bar. You can see two very small meteors that have just been detected here. This side is audio, so this is the audio that we're receiving from the signal that we're demodulating. You can see the same meteor there, but it just shows up as a stronger signal because here we're listening to audio, so the audio that we extract from the carrier, and here is just the actual radio signal itself. So you can see that here is I think it's a nicer visualization looking at it here than it is here, and it's slightly amplified as well. So here's the radio signal and here's the audio frequency. You can also see the Doppler effect there as it moves across the frequency bands. So this is time down here, obviously because this is moving, and this is frequency across here. So audio frequency, so that's 0.5 hertz. Now here you can see this is frequency across here, and this is time obviously down here because it's moving. There's another nice one there. So again, here's the radio frequency part of it, and here's the audio part of it here. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well we've got about 30 seconds left, so just remains for me to say bye to everybody. Thank you again to everybody who's joined us this morning. Sorry about the delay in starting, but we did get nearly 2 hours of live stream this morning, which will be recorded on our YouTube channel, so people can play that back and hear my dulcet tones again. Thank you very much. Let's see, looks like we're still continuing. Let's keep it going for another half an hour or so, just as a curtain call. While we're still receiving some nice pings. I've got a couple of bits I need to do around the control room. So I'm going to leave you with the radio screen, and I'll come back in a little while. Oh, there's another great one. Look at that. Fantastic. Yeah, let's keep the stream open for a while. Especially now we've got some more viewers as well, and we'll see if we get a fireball. Wouldn't that be great if we could just get one fireball from Graves this morning? That would be a great way to end the morning. Okay, well I'm going to go and make myself a cup of tea or coffee, and I'll come back to you shortly. I'm back. It looks like we've had a few more viewers join us this morning, so just wanted to explain who I am and who we are. So my name's Jason Williams. I'm the founding director of the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation, or EAARO as we like to call ourselves. We're a not-for-profit charitable organisation. I set the organisation up about 8 years ago as a way to get people interested in science and technology, mathematics and engineering, what we call the STEM subjects, using space is a really exciting way to do that. So we run a number of meaningful space research projects. Our kind of staple projects are the ones that are always set up here at our Space Operations Centre in Alconbury. So that's our meteor radar systems, our sudden ionospheric disturbance experiment, and our meteor cameras. You can read all about these experiments online on our website or through our various social media channels, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. You'll be able to find out some information about EAARO, and there's some really good history about how we got set up, etc. Then there are three main projects that are all in different stages. So the first one is our meteor radar transmitter, which we're hoping to build over on the Orkney Islands on a small island called North Ronaldsay. The second project, which is not so well known about, is a project called EAARO Chibo, and that's our attempt to build the first SETI observation facility in the UK. So nobody currently does SETI professionally in the UK. We've been talking to the SETI Institute for many years about setting up our own SETI project, building a very large receiver antenna and finding somewhere to site it, and then dealing with the obvious background noise that we're going to get in the UK, which is why I think many people don't do SETI here. Also, we only have a very small window into the part of the Milky Way that we want to search. So we're only going to get about 20 minutes, half an hour of observation time every day. But unlike the SETI project in California, we're not going to systematically scan the skies. Our plan is to just look in one place for a number of years. And we're being led by a famous cosmologist called Paul Davis, who's based out of the University of Arizona. And we're going to be following some of his novel ideas about what we should look for. So all that's very exciting. And then our third big project is actually a particle physics project, where we're going to try and look to see if we can observe some neutrinos. So neutrino astronomy is really the cutting edge for astronomy at the moment. There are three main large projects that are currently underway. One is called IceCube over in the Antarctic. One is called the Indian Neutrino Observatory, where they've actually just started building a man-made cave under a mountain over in India. And the third is a project called DUNE, which stands for Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment. So that's a big international project where they're building a neutrino observatory in a mine, actually an old gold mine in South Dakota. It's an international project because many countries are pooling money together to build the equipment and to operate it. We want to do something here on a much smaller scale. Obviously, we don't have the resources of some of these much larger projects, but our project is called EAARO Mine, and the mine stands for Mini Neutrino Experiment. The idea is to see if we can actually observe neutrinos on a much smaller scale. So we're currently working on a feasibility project with a number of industry experts. We've got an ex-scientist from Fermi Lab, who's based out in Missouri. We've also got help from Jodis Rademacher at the University of Bath, who's heading up the UK end of the DUNE project. And the Indian Neutrino Observatory we're also going to for advice. So all that's quite exciting. We've never actually done any particle physics research here, and it's a big learning curve for us, but I think it's exciting times for EAARO. So really that's how we work. We have these three kind of large projects that the team are working on, and then we have the smaller research projects which keep us ticking over, which are really kind of our pull-in to get people interested in in what we're doing. So hopefully that gives you a good overview of what EAARO is all about. Anyway, I say keep watching, and I'll come back to you shortly. A very good morning to all our viewers that have just joined. It's Jason Williams here at EAARO. We are the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation. We've been live streaming this morning, supposedly since 4 AM, until I realised that I hadn't hit the live button on YouTube Studio. So I'd been talking to myself for an hour or so this morning before we actually went live and activated the stream. So apologies to anyone who joined us really early, but we have been recording the data. We're going to post some screenshots later on today. So that being the case, I've decided that we'll continue the stream for at least another hour or so and try and make up for lost time, especially seeing as we're still getting some meteor pings coming in, and people seem really interested in what we're doing and have some really good questions about our organisation and what we do. You can see above me is a bird's eye view. Oh, this one just popped in there. Let me just show you. There you go. Actually, there's a couple there. We've got some very sensitive equipment here. Myself and Jeff have spent many years perfecting the art of meteor detection. especially down to equipment choice. Antennas, which SDRs we use, what software we're using. So that's all been quite interesting. And as I say, we were just using the Graves transmitter for our observations, but we're now using the Dorbs transmitter in Belgium, where I've had some hugely strong reflections come in already today. That's a different setup because it's a much lower frequency. So whereas we're using the 2 meter wavelength VHF for Graves, for Dorbs we use 50 megahertz, which is a 6 meter wavelength. So we have a much larger antenna rigged up to listen to the echoes coming from Belgium. There's also a big difference in the power outputs of the transmitters. So Belgium, the power output is around 150 watts, compared to megawatts being transmitted from Graves. We don't actually know what the maximum output power is from Graves, although there are a number of different transmit antennas which are switched sequentially, whereas the Belgium signal is a continuous wave transmitted from the Institute of Astronomy over there, and we know that that's around 150 watts. So a little bit of technical information for you there. We've been based at Alconbury for about just over 6 months now, and it's incredible what we've achieved. When we moved into the bunker here, it was just basically a black hole. There was no electricity, no lighting, it was full of rubbish. There was a false ceiling installed, which was basically falling down, and the whole of the floor was covered in asbestos tiles. So between me and my team, Jeff and Matt, Paul, and from the help with my son Ethan and the rest of the Williams family, we managed to get the place cleaned up, and it is what it is as you see it now. We've got some nice LED lighting installed. We have 100 amp 3-phase power, a whole number of computers, currently a 4G internet system because there is no cable internet available here, but that's something that we'll certainly have in the future. And by the way, you can only actually see half of our building, so the other half of this the building here is currently like a garage area, and that will eventually be set up as our workshop / classroom / studio. So we're going to have an actual studio space where we can give some presentations and lectures, and talk a little bit more in depth about some of the projects that we're working on. Then just around the corner, if you look at the bird's eye view, you see where the filing cabinets are. Just to the other side of the filing cabinets, we've got a nice kind of tea room / lounge area with a kitchen, some big comfy couches, just somewhere where we can sit down and chat and make visitors a nice cup of coffee and give them a chocolate biscuit if they're lucky. By the way, the 2 screens that you can see on the desk behind me are our Meteor camera station. So we normally have 2 cameras up on the roof for doing visual meteor observations. They've currently come down for maintenance and will go back up soon on a motorised mount, so we can actually change the directions of the cameras from down here. We're also, Jeff at the moment is putting together a system over at Royston so that we can have a camera and a radio set up over there. We're doing a big overhaul at our Royston station at the moment. And we're also taking another camera. We've partnered with the UK Meteor Network, UK Mon, and we're looking at taking another camera over to North Ronaldsay and setting up a camera station there as well. So there's plenty of stuff going on at EAARO. We're a little bit slow with progress because we're a volunteer-only organisation. We've all got other day jobs, and we all try and fit in EAARO around our families and our kind of full-time occupations. Wouldn't it be great, Jeff, if we could do this full-time and get paid for it? It's not going to happen though at the moment, I don't think. Anyway, thanks again for everybody who's watching. And I'm just going to get a quick drink and I'll come back to you shortly. Hello and good morning to anyone who might recently have joined us. It's Jason Williams here from EAARO, the East Anglian Astrophysical Research Organisation. I've been here since 4 AM this morning, feeling a little bit tired. Been observing the Beta Taurids meteor shower. And also the June Bootids, which I think is a radiant that's currently above the horizon, where we may well be receiving some Meteor Echoes from. Although I started at 4, I didn't actually start live broadcasting till just after 7, because I mistakenly forgot to press the go live button. There we go. We're a totally transparent and very honest organisation. So happy to admit I made a mistake there. But anyway, never mind. We've managed, I can see, 2 hours and 45 minutes of live broadcast, nearly 3 hours. I'm probably going to close the stream around 10 AM. We might leave it on a little bit longer. It's great to see that we've got some interest. That's, absolutely fantastic. I couldn't ask for more than that. And the quality of our viewers has also been very good. So thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning, especially to Sleeve and Tony and Paul. Thanks, Jeff, for joining in. Jeff's our technical director, currently at home over near Leicester. I haven't seen Matt this morning. I wonder if Matt's forgotten about us or just decided not to join. So there are 3 of us that run EAARO. There's myself, there's Jeff Lashley, who's our technical director, and Matt Bomer, who's our creative director. And then we have a number of volunteers. Paul Northover is one of our mechanical engineers, along with Mike Nelson. And then we have Erin, who's part of our junior team, who looks after our SID experiment for us. And then not forgetting my son Ethan, who's expert in locks and security over here, and also a very good data analysis, and helps to go through the files that we capture on our Meteor cameras. So thank you to everybody who's part of the EAARO team, and a big thank you to our families as well, Jeff's family and Matt's family and my family, all for being very supportive of what we do. So a big thank you to everybody who helps to make EAARO possible. And not forgetting Urban and Civic, who have obviously been very kind enough to loan us a building here for a few years to use as our combined space operations and data centre. We desperately needed somewhere to house our server farm, and this is where we finally set up shop. Excellent. Thank you so much to everybody, all our benefactors, helpers, Deb Stevens, and everybody else that supports us in the work we do. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I think we're going to continue for a little bit longer. I'm going to let you watch some pings and speak to you in a little bit. Hello. Well, I think I'm going to call it a morning or a day. I've been here 7 hours now, and I'm starting to get a little bit tired. Plus, I've got loads of stuff that I need to be getting on with today. Alright, well, thanks everybody. Thanks everyone for watching. Look out for details of more streams to come. We're going to try and do a VLF demonstration sometime during the week or possibly next weekend, but I'll get something out on social media about that. In the meantime, stay safe everybody. Have fun. Happy radioing. Take care. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Paul. I think you're still with us. We'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.